Today is Saturday, November the 6th. Take it
And
away, Madison.
I am your co-host, Madison. It's nice to be here with you, Mark. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Great. Thanks for tuning in to our podcast. We're going to try to deliver these to you guys every Saturday around noon so we can get your weekend started off right. We've got some light local news and some national news to touch on today, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Awesome. So one of the things that I know I wanted to talk about was the Indiana state revenue continues to beat estimates. So this is something that is very important given, the pandemic and things like that, where people were worried, about how much money states are going to have. Now, I didn't look to see what other states like Florida and all that kind of stuff, what, they're bringing in. But with Indiana, the article I read on Indiana Business said the Indiana state budget says the general fund revenues totaled nearly $1.4 billion last month, which was more than 11% higher than the April 2021 revenue forecast and nearly 15% higher than the same month last year. So Indiana, it sounds like, is doing very well when it comes to their budget. I hope that they don't waste that money, that they put it to good use in the to help people that need it instead of just blow it on things that are not needed. Maybe save it for a rainy day or a snowy day, because here in Indiana we do have a lot of snow, and so maybe save it for that. Also, another thing on Indiana news is the Southern Indiana Pride is hosting their first planning session for the 2022 festival. Now, I didn't know that Pride was in Southern Indiana. And do you know what Pride is, Madison?
Yeah, it's very exciting. We have a big Pride culture in Orlando, like kind of the epicenter of our state. So we've been enjoying the Pride Parade and the culture that brings for quite some time now. It's interesting to see that Southern Indiana is doing their first, and I hope it's a good time. Hope everyone stays safe, respects one another. And I hope that Pride can spread throughout the country and can become a constant in the whole state of Indiana as the Pride Parade kicks off there. So that's very exciting stuff.
Yeah, it said that after launching this in 2016, LGBTQ group held the annual parade for 4 years in Jeffersonville. Then the pandemic hit, forcing them to kind of scrap the plan for the last two years in a row. But the Southern Pride founder, Evan Stoner, wants to rebuild this momentum. So hopefully maybe I can reach out to Evan Stoner and we can kind of interview him. That'd kind of be neat to talk to him about this Pride Festival. Yeah, definitely. I think so. Another thing that is making the news here in Indiana is this school administrator that has been all over the internet, that went viral, as they like to say, about this critical race theory that claims they're teaching in Indiana. Now, my kids are in school in Indiana, and I don't believe that they're teaching that. And if they were, whatever. But I think the critical race theory is kind of being given a bad name because people just don't like it. So they say, oh, well, this is about teaching children and people that all the problems in the United States in the world are because white people are racist. And that's not really what critical race theory is about. There may be people that have taken it and misused it, just like people misuse the Bible, just like people misuse other types of books and saying that this means that when maybe it really doesn't. But this person, the school administrator, I believe his name is Tony Kennett, posted this video saying, hey, they being the IPS schools, Indianapolis Public School System, has told us to lie to you because we're actually teaching critical race theory to your children and teaching them that all white people are bad and they're all racist and that all the problems in the world are because of white people. So don't believe the lies that we're not teaching it, because we are, and we're just calling it something else. Obviously, I'm not in school in the Indianapolis public school system, so I don't know the accuracy of what he's saying. I do kind of find it hard to believe that the school would teach children that one race of people are the problem for all the world's problems. I just don't know if that's true. I do know that when I was in school, we read books about Hitler, Mein Kampf, Hitler's diary. We also read, books by Karl Marx when I was in school. It doesn't mean that the school was trying to socialize us. It doesn't mean that the school was trying to indoctrinate us by, or turn us into Hitlers by making us read this. We also read Animal Farm, which was another book, talking, 1984. So I don't think just because you read those kind of books, that means that they're trying to indoctrinate you into that. So even if they were kind of teaching about critical race theory, depending on the way it was taught, of course, I don't know if that is actually a bad thing. I mean, think about history class, right? In history, they teach about the Ku Klux Klan and racism and how there was slavery. Does that mean that they're trying to teach that, black people are slaves? Well, there may be some white teachers that think so, but that's not really the purpose of teaching about the Civil War and things like that. So,
Right, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, to each their own there, but I think the spread of knowledge is more important than the warped message and political instigation of what a message could be. And I think if you're coming at it from trying to politicize knowledge or a concept in general, is maybe you need to look at yourself a little bit, instead of blame the critical race theory itself. Maybe kind of look at how you're delivering the message and start there. That's a good way to kind of attack that kind of prejudice, I would say.
Exactly. So I also want to, take a brief moment of silence or just remembrance for Colin Powell, who died recently, but then his funeral was last week. And he, Secretary of State, he was former Joint Chief of Staff Chairman. When I was in the military, he was the Joint Chief of Staff for the military at the time. He fought in Vietnam. He was criticized for his role in they could say basically covering up some of the My Lai incidents, but his career overall, I mean, everybody makes mistakes in their life, and I'm sure that may have been something he regretted. And also how they was used for the weapons of mass destruction for the invasion of Iraq. But overall, this man was a leader, exemplary service to this country. He was a Ranger, Pathfinder, combat veteran. I mean, he just did a lot for this country overall, and it's a shame that he passed. I believe the result was COVID complications is what killed him, but it was lost to this country to see him go.
Absolutely, God bless.
And now we talked about the tragic incident last week with Alec Baldwin, but how many people know about the tragic incident on Harrison Ford? Indiana Jones, they suffered a tragic death. The cause may be unknown, or maybe natural cause. We don't really know. At least the report I read have no clue exactly why this crew member died on his set, but it wasn't anything that was a shot, like an incident, excuse me, that happened with Alec Baldwin.
Right?
Yeah, but someone did die there. And then on Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, the sequel to the movie Black Panther, the lead actress there has been injured, and they've had to kind of temporarily stop production there because she was injured and is now recovering. So making these movies is definitely dangerous work. Yeah.
That's interesting with the movie industry. I think maybe that being off from COVID for so long and people just not working together for such a long period of time, that maybe coming back in full swing has been problematic for people, and kind of getting back into protocol, like real protocol, has been a challenge. So hopefully everyone just, stays alert on set, it takes responsibility for themselves and for what's going on around them. Because like what happened with the Alec Baldwin incident, there was a lot of neglect there and people that just didn't really pay attention to the protocols, really care to pay attention. Getting back to the Alec Baldwin thing, the armorer, Gutierrez Reed, claimed in a statement that she told the actors never to point a weapon directly at an individual when firing. So when he was doing his crossbody shot, which inevitably created the tragedy that happened, that transpired, he didn't listen to Gutierrez Reed, and he had the weapon pointed directly at the people behind the camera. So it's kind of like, we need to shake off the dust a little bit. And if you claim to be a professional, you need to be on set, being professional, being aware of your surroundings. And hopefully we can avoid these tragedies coming into the future.
Right. Because in the end, they're making a movie. I mean, we don't need anybody really getting, killed. Just keep it sci-fi or special effects and not really get injured. But
exactly.
I do know that these movies, especially when they're action, drama, that kind of stuff, they've plagued the industry for years. I mean, I could think of Wizard of Oz and all the injuries that resulted from that, where the original Tin Man was sickened and, almost died. I think he had actually ended up having to get like an iron lung or something like that because of the paint they put on his face and all that. So this is definitely something that is a risk in the movie industry and also other industries. I mean, police officers, danger, construction work. There are a lot of jobs that it's really risky to be in that profession. So
absolutely. Yeah, what's cryptic, honestly, about the Wizard of Oz thing, I hadn't even thought about that till you said it, but allegedly there were attempts of suicide and actual successful attempts of suicide with the dwarves, the Munchkins. I guess the work conditions were so poor throughout the entire set that a couple of them, or at least one, murdered themselves like in the scene. And it was in the original movie. They didn't cut it out. I guess they didn't notice it or didn't see it. But when they reinvented the movie, which is the one that you can find now, that is not there. So you don't see that there. But it got really kind of cryptic and dreary on that set. So we're coming up and we're doing better on movie sets, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
Are you sure that one of the dwarves killed themselves, or is this one of those
it's sort of a conspiracy? It's a little bit of a conspiracy, but I have seen photographs. So
photographs of him killing himself?
Not him in the act, but there's like a setting of like a hanging dwarf in the background in a couple of
I don't believe it.
I'm gonna have to
research. I'm gonna have to research it and find out. And find out
it was an odd era that time. They're trying to conform and trying to create this kind of
look right now.
Classic American lifestyle. It's kind of eerie.
Commit suicide on.
Well, while you're doing that, I just want to kind of do some follow-up from the last week. We had talked about going bare on Halloween and kind of what that entailed. And we got some feedback from people, which we highly encourage and appreciate very much. But we got some feedback that people said that they like to reinvent themselves on Halloween and to cut loose and feel sexy and kind of break free from the routine of the kids and packing lunch boxes and taking kids to practice. The Halloween is just sort of an opportunity for people to break free, to feel like themselves, and to be somebody new for the night. So that was kind of the consensus there, awesome. Which was nice to hear from the people. Yeah.
And also we received one email regarding a producer, and he was interested in producing our show. His name is Joe Capro. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. And he did an edit of our show and then sent it to us as an example to say, hey, this is the work that I can do. It sounded pretty good. I don't know at this time if we'll end up using him, but we do appreciate that Joe Capro did reach out to us and let us know that he listened and he was interested in doing producing of the show and editing it and things like that, to take out these little filler words that I use and all the little blank spots and stuff like that.
Yeah, me too.
And then also Courtney, who used to be someone associated with the Circle City News, and she was one of the hosts previously. She now is starting her band back up. She was a member of a band. I think COVID kind of slowed things down, and obviously just life in general. But she performed at the Jazz Kitchen here in Indianapolis last week or last weekend, and I talked to her and asked her, "Hey, see if you can get the band, so we can interview the band and things like that." So she says she's going to talk to them and see if she can get them to come on. And obviously, I'm going to send her this clip to say, "Hey, we gave you a shout out that we want people to listen to your band and all that." So, and I'm going to take that picture you sent me, Courtney, and I'm going to put it on Circle City News too. So, thank you.
Very cool. Yep, always looking for the local scene. So if you guys have any other local music or local restaurants or anything happening in the Indianapolis area, please feel free to give us some feedback. We'd love to, grow the community, and shout out the community is what we're all here for. So
Definitely.
absolutely.
I know you have something that you want to talk about. So
A couple of little things. We have been talking about COVID a little bit, and I'm glad to hear that economically Indiana is doing okay from post-COVID. That's great. But it seems that the Biden administration is looking to do mandatory or a vaccine mandate. So by January 4th, if you work for a company that has over 100 or over 100 people, you must be fully vaccinated or get tested every week. And I think there's about 27 states that are kind of attacking this mandate. Indiana being one of them, Texas being one of them, Louisiana, Mississippi being others. I'm not really sure. Where do you kind of stand on this issue?
I did get vaccinated. I think that people should get vaccinated unless there's some kind of objection about why they should not, such as religion or health reasons. I don't plan on getting the booster at this point in time.
Okay.
I'm not saying that people should not get the booster if they do. I don't force my staff to get vaccinated. The people that work for me, I do encourage that they should. I think it's just another way to reduce the spread of it. I'm not someone that is, what they call anti-vaxxer. I mean, I believe, vaccines are, they don't necessarily make you sick, although there's obviously situations where someone can have nervous or adverse reactions to, vaccines, medicine, anything, food, you can get these adverse reactions. So I'm not a big proponent of the government forcing people in the private sector to get vaccinated. But I'm also understanding that we force people to get vaccinated, like, children for the most part to get vaccinated to go to school. At least when I went to school, you had to be vaccinated. And some of these diseases that we had when I was a kid are no longer around. I think of or not no longer around, but they're very rare. Like I think of like smallpox, chickenpox, polio, some of these things that, were huge issues when I was a child. Now they're, people don't even talk about them anymore, and they're gone for the most part. And why is that? Well, because people got vaccinated. And maybe if people got vaccinated with this COVID-19, maybe, COVID-19 would go away and we could feel comfortable not wearing a mask, which I think is another issue that people have about, them wearing the mask. And I know that there was a lawsuit in Florida about whether or not the governor could ban, schools from wearing masks and all that kind of stuff like that. And I think the court there said, I mean, it wasn't within his authority to do, but at the same time, I feel like, why would someone want to ban a person from wearing a mask when this is something that can reduce the spread of disease? It may not be foolproof, but I know when I cough, I cover my mouth. I was raised like that, and I think most people would not like me all in their face talking and like spit coming out of my mouth as I'm talking to them. There's some little barriers better than no barrier. But getting back to your point in regards to the mandate, I'm not a big fan of mandating people to get the vaccine, because when you do that, if you don't have an exception, and I'm assuming that there is an exception for like medical or religion, then it does make it a little better. But in the United States, there's a long history of forcing vaccinations on people, forcing medications on people, even if they don't want it. And the courts have generally upheld uh, the ability for the government to do that, whether we like it or not.
Right. Yeah, I think I agree with you there with the being anti the government forcing you to do things. If people aren't doing it from their choice or their place of freedom, there's gonna be friction, inevitably so. I've also heard that NOLA, New Orleans, Louisiana area has been suffering, especially with the COVID-19. Like there's been essence and reminiscence of like police state behavior, where they're arresting or reprimanding non-vaccinated or people without their vaccination cards, like entering restaurants and this kind of thing. So the direction or the attention of the police force has kind of moved over to keeping a mandate instead of protecting from petty crime and things like that. So it seems like the crime rate and the tourism has gone down and the crime rate has gone up since these mandates have been put in place. So I think that's kind of an interesting concept to look at too, the extremist culture behind making any sort of decision, how it's going to create extremes one way or the other, the polarity concept there. So I think maybe just let people have their right to choose and hope that all is well.
Right. So I don't know about that. I haven't read that, if that is if they're arresting people for not being vaccinated. I would find that hard to believe, being a criminal defense attorney, that they're doing that. I'd like to kind of know where that's coming from, because it would have to be listed as a crime for them to get arrested. And that means that the legislature would have to pass a law that says if you're not vaccinated, that you can get arrested, and there's a misdemeanor or felony or something like that. I'm not aware, because I'm not an attorney in New Orleans or Louisiana, to know if there's a law that's been passed. Shouldn't be too hard to Google that.
Yeah, I think there was like a short documentary kind of series with small business owners talking out about how COVID was hitting the town poorly. So that might be where that came from. But yeah, that was sort of a passing rumor that I had heard about.
So on time.com, which, Time the magazine, I did look up about the Munchkin that hanged himself on the set.
Okay.
And what do you think it says?
I think it's true, but I don't know. What do you think?
It says it's false. It says, it says, in a scene where Dorothy the Scarecrow and the Tin Man are skipping down the yellow brick road singing, "We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz." Some think the dark moving figure hanging from a tree in the background is an actor who hanged himself on set. More likely, this is what it says, more likely it's one of the exotic birds that the filmmakers borrowed from the Los Angeles Zoo in order to create a wilderness setting. According to the fact-checking website Snopes.com, the rumor has been circulating since around 1989, the time of the 50th anniversary of the film's release.
Yep.
So I will say that, in all fairness, even though it says it's false, it does say more likely it's one of the exotic birds. So I don't know.
Right.
Is it? Was it exotic bird, or did the actor? I mean, it'd be nice if this article said the Munchkin that they claim hanged himself is actually, Joe Smith, and he's alive and well. So
that would have been a little bit more comforting.
Yes. So yeah, they have a whole article about it's called "Was the Wizard of Oz Cursed? The Truth Behind the Dark Stories About the Julie Garland Classic." And there's a whole bunch of questions on there. Makeup made actors sick, which that's true. That's the one I mentioned about the Munchkin hanging himself. Julie Garland being molested by actors. They think maybe false, or not sure.
I didn't hear that one. Oh man.
Yeah. And so
I
Yeah.
did hear that they made her smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day to keep her skinny. That was also another
Oh,
sort of awful industry action, or
yeah.
forcing the actors to do that. Yeah, so just stay alert. If you have a responsibility on set, keep your eyes peeled, and don't do what you don't think is right, and you'll probably be right in the end.
don't what say it again. I didn't catch it.
Don't do what you don't think is right, or do what
Okay.
you think is right, and you will be right in the end. That kind of
Okay.
thing.
All
Don't just
right.
blindly do something because others are telling you to do, especially on a movie set where people are really vulnerable to what's going on around them.
Okay. Well, if you want to say that one more time and we can sign off with that, unless you have something else.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay.
I actually do have one other thing that I
Oh,
think could be just a sort of a more upbeat note. Just a thing to help the planet here. There is a web browser called Ecosia that you can download. It's ECOSIA, and it is it's like Google. It's a search engine, and it plants a tree every 45 searches. So I've had Ecosia for
wow.
about a year, and I've accrued over 1,500 trees planted just based off my searches alone. So
Nice.
Ecosia, it's free, download it. You can use it like Google, and yeah, help the planet. So it's a good thing.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome that it does. I've never even heard of that. So you have to make sure that we put that a link to that browser in the website.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds great.
All right. Now do the saying that because I like that. It's complicated to say, but I like it.
Okay, let me try. um, always do what you think is right, and it probably will turn out right in the end.
All right. Take care, everyone. See you next week.
Alrighty, thank you guys all for checking it out. Have a nice week.